Christopher knows that we are all independent researchers trying to figure out the mysteries of life. His research has taught him to reject any wisdom that does not know how to cry, any philosophy which does not know laughter, and any greatness which is not humbled by the joy of children. So the best we can do is hold each other's hands as we walk through the mysteries of life together. And he said to me earlier today that those mysteries of life has been being revealed to him through his interactions with his grandchildren and his cat. So without further ado, Christopher, I'd like to bring you to the stage and ask you to open this up in a grounding prayer. And the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, thank you, Paul. That was very sweet. So let's take a breath together. And again, we center down. And we center down and in as we silently move into that place of the heart that knows no up or down distinction, that knows the silence from which everything evolves, emits, and comes forth from. This silent and sacred place we'll call the essence of life. And we recognize that this essence of life has always been here, always been here. And so in that recognition, I bless today's service. I bless the speaker, hoping that he, knowing actually that what comes out will not only be inspired to perhaps some out there, but will be inspired to him also. That the speaker will be the vessel for that which wants to be shared this evening. And so I bless everyone that has a part in this service. I bless all of the people in attendance who bring their consciousness into this service. For we're all connected by this one unicity of life. How good it is to simply rest in that as we begin our service this evening. And so it is. Wow. I'm going to start with the bell. And who would have known just months ago that we would end up where we are today? I could never have anticipated this in a million years, but here we are. And it kind of points to the ever-changing nature of life. And that the more we're attached to a certain outcome, the more we will be blown down by the hurricanes of life when they move through us, or in essence, the viruses that also move through us. And so we find ourselves in changing times. And if you want to know about changing times, you look in the want ads, if you can find want ads in the newspaper these days. But there's one want ad in particular I find quite amusing, and that's the one where single male with toilet paper is looking for single female with hand sanitizer for good, clean fun. So we can see times are changing, absolutely changing. And in that, we're dealt a hand of cards called circumstances. In this hand of cards, these playing cards that we are dealt with, the master knows that every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser. It depends upon how you play those cards. How awake are we to the vast amount of circumstances that arise so that those hands can be played in the best possible way? So if we look around at our own life circumstances, what do we see? Well, we see change. We see sheltering in place. We see wearing masks. We see our creativity in terms of shopping and being with other people. My wife, Susan, just baked a pie today. Now that is a new level of creativity. I love it. And so I certainly support this. So how do we play our hands of cards? How do we play with what is so in the moment? Because this moment, we've never been in this moment before, but we can say that about every single moment. It depends upon our interpretation of this exact moment. So again, how are we interpreting this moment? Well, I can say, well, this moment, we don't have enough rain, so that's not good. And it's perhaps maybe too sunny right now or not sunny enough, and that's not good. And there's light coming in from the window that's casting shadows on my face. Oh, that's definitely not good. Or that could be really good because it makes it more interesting. So all of my interpretations do not touch reality. Reality simply is. Reality doesn't care what our interpretations are. It's like a movie screen. The movie screen doesn't care if there's a romance comedy or there's a shoot 'em up. When the movie stops, there's no perfume on the movie screen, then there's no bullet holes in the movie screen. The movie screen is just as pristine. And so is reality. Reality simply moves in this unistic fashion, ever changing, ever moving, all connected as this amazing one. And we talk about the one a lot, but at the same time, I hear so much of them and me and us and them, and that there is a God out there, as opposed to I can't be other than connected at all times, as I can't be disconnected from the air I breathe. And isn't it this very air that we breathe, the same breath that Genghis Khan breathed and dinosaurs breathed way back how many years ago? Or millions of years ago. It's the same. And so if we look at the way life is moving, life is evolving, and so are humans. We think that perhaps might be the evolutionary end of something, but it's only the beginning. It depends on our interpretation. But we do know that life changes and that life evolves and species evolve. And so in terms of nature, nature moves according to its own randomness, its own unpredictableness, but it's also according to its own nature. And what that means is if I look at my particular cat moves in its own unique nature. I've noticed Paul's cat, and Peter has some cats. I know many of you have cats. Each cat will have their own personality and move according to their own nature. Just as waves in the moment will move according to the nature of the currents of the ocean. And so we have this movement randomly, unpredictably. And so when a hurricane arises, it arises out of circumstances. It moves according to circumstances, all interconnected, all moving, and it dissolves back into that same unpredictableness. Now the question is our interpretation of that activity. And if our interpretation of this isn't good, or if this is dangerous, or if this is bad, this is where our suffering comes in. Because it certainly looks like a hurricane that blows down your house is not a good thing. Well, we had a fire that moved through the Oakland Hills, and we were the lucky ones. We had our house burned to the ground. And I mean that in not even a cavalier way. I had no idea at the time how fortunate that was going to be. But I did know when the house was burnt and we came back and saw it, that there was nothing left. And I rejoiced in that because I wouldn't have to sift through the ashes trying to find or trying to hold on to some relic that was completely gone. So it was quite refreshing to know that everything was gone. Get the bulldozer, let's start fresh. What is the next step as we move forward? Yes, when there's loss, there's great grieving involved, and that's not to be denied. And for some people, this was horrendous. and people lost loved ones. But at the same time, the other side of that coin is the great opportunity to build something new and fresh and even more amazing. And that's kind of the theme for tonight is, with crisis, there comes opportunity. How are we playing our cards in this new opportunity? Now you find yourself sheltering in place. Some of you have figured out masks, maybe perhaps made your own masks, creating new recipes. That's some of the positive sides of it. Now, there'll be those that say, hey, the kids are going to lose 2.5 months of school. They're going to be behind. That's not good. That's one interpretation, and that may be a valid one, but do we really know? It perhaps is at this time of shelter in place, perhaps these same kids are going to learn more equanimity. They're going to have dinner with their parents for the first time because the parents are not working. They're actually at home, sheltering. They'll have more parent time. And for some, that'll be a really good thing. And for others, that might be a toxic thing. So we don't know again. And I bring this up because these kids might be more educated or have a different education than any other generation, which might be a very good, humbling thing for them to learn a slower pace. So I want to bring up is, for every crisis, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And the more we try to control that outcome with force, the more we can potentially suffer as a result of that. And it's said that all suffering occurs out of our interpretation of what is so, or what is the isness of this moment. So we have this moment, pure, simple sensations of now, and then we lay our interpretations on top of that. And of course, we want to be controlling of those circumstances because this is all we have, and this is what we want. And we don't realize that we're not allowing more possibilities to actually enter in. And so, what if we were, I'm going to read some Michael Singer. He speaks to this very well. And he says, you have to understand that it is your attempt to get special experiences from life that make you miss the actual experience of life. Let me read that again. You have to understand that it's your attempt to get special experiences from life that make you miss the actual experience of life. It's kind of like you're trying to reach for a better moment, but this moment is not okay. I want a better moment than just right now because I know that right now isn't okay. I want something better. Well, he goes on to say, life is not something that you get. It's something that you experience. Life exists with or without you. It has been going on for billions of years. Life exists with, it has been going on for billions of years. You simply get the honor of seeing a tiny slice of it. If you're busy trying to get something, you will miss the slice that you already are experiencing. This is pointing back to so many masters of, we're missing the moment of now. And we miss the moment of now. We miss that slice of pie that is right before us, reaching for something farther out that we never quite touch or get to. So if we're not happy with what is now, how can we be happy with more? Because we haven't even digested or chewed what we have in our mouths right now. And this is a common no, how do I say it? This is a common suffering for all of us. Now, Susan, I'm going to tell this story. Susan was kind of in competition with her older sister, and her older sister could be a brat. And there was this contest, and they would try to outdo each other. Well, the older sister decided, let's eat our ice creams really fast and see who can eat the ice cream the fastest. Well, Susan fell for it and gobbled down her ice cream. And what happens when you eat ice cream fast, you get brain freeze and you forget about tasting the ice cream. Well, the older sister sort of chuckled. And it's a valuable lesson for all of us, how we are deceived in our competitiveness to get to a place and we miss the experience of now. Reaching for some phantom, I showed you so, or I got the prize, or whatever, when in actuality, we missed our moment. We missed the deliciousness, the tastiness of life in this very moment. It was the story of the farmer who was no longer he wasn't getting anything from his church. He just wasn't feeling it anymore. So he decided that he was going to leave the church, told the minister, I'm leaving. I can find the beloved out in my fields. I can find it in the birds in the evening. I don't need church. And the minister said, you will be missed. You might not be getting something out of this, but there'll be others here that will miss you, that will miss what you have to bring. And the man said, well, that might be so, but I'm leaving anyway. And the minister said, that's fine. He was a very wise minister, by the way. That's fine. You're welcome to leave, and I wish you the best. But may I visit you in 6 months, maybe after Christmas, and we can talk again. And the farmer said, of course, my door's always open to you. And so they shook hands and left. Well, 6 months later, minister knocks on the door and invited in. And it's one of those cold evenings with a warm fire on the inside. And so they sat down in front of the fire. And the minister, in his wisdom or her wisdom, they started talking amicably. And about 20 minutes into the conversation, the minister reaches over with those fireplace tools and grabs those tongs that can grab things and grabbed a red hot coal out of the fireplace and plops it down on the stone hearth. And it's a beautiful coal. It's just blazing and flaming and just going to town, just shining in the light. And minutes go by and the light goes out. Minutes more go by and the glowing redness starts to dim. And minutes more go by and it starts to go dark. And the minister looks over at the farmer and the farmer looks over at the minister. And something is realized in that demonstration right there. And the minister says, what do you see? And the farmer says, I see what you're doing. Okay, I get the point. I'll see you on Sunday. And I love that story because there's so much wisdom there. The minister was accepting what was so. And what was so was the farmer was leaving. The farmer was accepting what was so. He wasn't feeling appreciated or uplifted. So he was following his heart. And when there was that returning, the farmer saw something freshly. He saw that his ember, when amidst with the rest of the embers, could glow and shine brightly. But taken out of community, taken out of the friction of community, the misunderstandings within the community, the work that goes on within a community, our lights don't burn as brightly. So how important community is in this time so that we can energize one another. And there's a lot of wisdom in there. The farmer saw a new interpretation of what it's like to go to church. He hadn't seen that before, a new possibility. And the minister never dismissed the farmer in terms of what he thought was correct and was not attached to the outcome. It was an invitation. And Jeff loves to talk about that, Reverend Jeff, with the invitation to explore, to inquire. So we could say if we change our interpretation to life, we change our lives. We actually change the world. We might not change the physical circumstances, but we change our view of the world, our reality of the world. We start to see things a little more clearly, a little more precisely. And that's the beginning of the introduction to a clip that I want to show that Peter's going to get queued up for us. And that is going to be the eye of the beholder. For you are the center of your experience. And what would it be like to see things freshly in this now moment, as if you've never seen them before, if you've never had an interpretation to see things? So with that intro, Peter, if you could run that clip. And while he's cueing it, I'll keep talking until it comes on. Oh.
What if we woke up to a different world? A world that is different, but only in the mind's eye. The exterior unchanged. Our view of it transformed. Observations empty of assumptions. Understanding of our surroundings erased. The eyes a portal. The world around us unexplored. Nothing named, nothing explained. A world we once beheld as a child. Captivated. Enthralled. Awed. Unbound, we are free to just be. To breathe in the magnificent. Become lost in wonderment. To be curious without a need to comprehend. To enjoy and experience. Become entirely immersed. Without time urging us to move on. Free to see life, growth, movement, without asking how or why. Life in all its forms rediscovered, vivid and complex, finer details perceived. Interpretation swept aside. Wake up. Eyes wide. Wide hands. Beholding the world anew.
And so simply taking a breath into the eye of the beholder, the eyes of awareness that are looking and receiving this message. And we're going to do a little exercise, and then we'll open it up to some sharing. As you look around the room, and take a moment now to look around your room, but freshly, as if you've never seen this room before. And taking your time, and not looking at them as objects, but more of shapes and textures and color. Softening the eyes so that you're seeing it freshly, shapes and colors and textures. And then as you're gently looking around the room in this curious, playful way, what are the sounds in the room? What's the quality of the sounds in the room, or the quality of silence in the room? And now as you're simply gazing at the room, listening in a very quiet way, bringing in the experience of the body. You have the outer, and now you're looking at the inner at the same time, expanding awareness to exclude the sensations of the body. Simply feeling into the breath, the way your body sits in the chair, the pressure points. Letting go of any tension that you might have on your face or forehead. Just bringing awareness there and see if anything changes. Shoulders, if there's any tension there, let them just drop. And again, noticing this particular moment, how the moment moves and changes. It's not a moment at all, but a continuum. And noticing that there is a coolness in your nostrils as you inhale. And as you exhale, there's a slight warmth upon exhale. Just noticing the easy rhythm of the inhale and exhale that moves according to its own nature, that moves with the rhythm of all of life, that cannot be separated from the rest of life. Bringing your attention back out to the room, you're noticing the shapes and texture around the room. Have you noticed there's an amazing amount of space in the room too? That invisible space that we miss because we're not focused there. And if it weren't for the space, this room wouldn't be possible. And so, in our way and habit of seeing, perhaps we're missing dimensions that have been there by our thinking, placed by our thinking and our ways of viewing life. So I'm going to open this up for those who want to share. What's it like when we truly stop? The mind stops for that moment, a couple seconds maybe more, when there's nothing there. There's just the whoosh of traffic, a bird in flight, light and shape, the sensations of the body. This ever-present moment. And when we fall in or arrive at this moment, and it's almost always just momentarily, oftentimes it's more than that, but just momentarily, we've all tasted this. What is that like? And who would like to speak to that, which is pretty hard to speak to? But perhaps some of you have enough courage to to open up and to say, what is that? What's that like when we actually stop and become aware of right now, the preciousness of right now? And so I open it to all the brave ones who would like to share. I have names I can call. I know that there are embers out there and coals that would love to shine even more brightly to share your wisdom. And actually, it's just an observation. What's it like?
I'll say something. It's, to me, space opens up in my body. Space opens up in my mind, in my heart. And so it feels much more, I feel more available to the present moment.
I love the availability. We become more available to what's now. It's like our opinions fall away. They're no longer relevant when we're just being. And when we're just being, that's the oneness. It's just this connected oneness that we really can't speak about. It's like this nothing oneness. It's everything and nothing, and it's a paradox. It's like, it's hard to talk about. So is that you, Sherry?
Trying to make this thing work.
You did.
Oh, would you like me to say something?
I thought you were.
Okay, all right. Well, I have a couple things. One is just what the other speaker just said, there's just a moment when everything falls away. And I was on this hike the other day, and up in the hills of Martinez, and the green was so, it was like velvet all over the hills. And my friend said, look at the trees, look at the different colors of the trees. And then it became like a painting, and then the clouds were there, and then a snake went across the road, and we stopped and just watched how slowly the snake went in just absolute awe. And it was as if nothing else existed except that moment of the visuals and all of that happening. So that was to answer your question, but I also just want to say what happened in my meditation, and that's to your earlier talk about when you're thinking ahead and want something to be a certain way, you miss what's actually going to be happening. And I had just a profoundly sweet, simple experience with that in meditation. I have 2 cats beside a dog that live with me, and the cats were in the room with me, and I wanted to roll them out and close the door and have this perfect silent space, right, with no animals in it. Had I done that, I would have missed this absolutely sweet moment with my male cat, because he jumped up on the bed next to me where I was meditating. And I thought, oh no, oh God, I should have put him out, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I looked, and he had put his forehead down onto my leg and was meditating with me. And we had this moment of the 2 of us in this meditation for the entire time. He never moved. He was sitting with his head down on my leg. And I thought, oh, I would have missed that if I had tried to arrange it the way it was supposed to be in meditation. So he's my yoga cat, my meditation cat now.
Oh, how beautiful.
So, yeah,
This gets back to, we think we know, and yet when we open, we see things that are unimaginable right in the middle of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. with new eyes. With
That
just,
moment was extraordinary, and it was so ordinary.
just like that.
Right.
But we think we know that we should put the cat out. Well, that's an impulse, and that's fine. But then again, maybe the cat is even better off inside, and we don't know. And so holding all of our evaluations and all of our interpretations, holding them lightly so that they're more liquid as opposed to solid and granite, is could be of value. Could be value to consider that.
Yeah, he wanted to
Yeah.
meditate. He wanted to be one with me. So yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
it.
Oh, thank you. Is there anybody else?
I'll share. This is Lara.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. Oh, wow. Thank you for your talk. There was so much wisdom in there. I love the story. You're a great storyteller. I love the story. A couple of things that stood out to me are the every hand's a winner, every hand's a loser. It's a matter of how you play the hand. That I'm going to really take with me after, because I tend to have the kind of mind that looks at other people and, you know, feels like, oh, they're lucky, they got a good hand in life, or they get, you know, and feeling bad for myself. And so this is kind of a new way of looking at it. And then the other thing that stood out is kind of what you said about, you know, like the circumstances just, you know, it is, and there's different ways to interpret what is. So that was really powerful. But in terms of looking at things with fresh eyes, so I'm outside right now. So I was doing that when you were walking us through it, and I've been practicing this like during this time of shelter in place. I've been going out for a walk every day and trying to like spend some of the time just being mindful, like not listening to my podcast or whatever, like, you know, taking some time just to look around. And it's like amazing. And I've had this experience of looking at our planet as if I just arrived like on a new planet, like I arrived from a spaceship on our planet, and have been looking around and like, this is like an amazing planet. Like if you look at all the different kinds of plants and animals, it's like such an abundant, richly diverse planet. We are so lucky to be on this planet. And I've just really been enjoying nature. Like the other day on my walk, I saw a bunny rabbit, which was, I hadn't seen one in a long time. That was so cute. And then also there's a bird that's building a nest in a tree, like right outside my window. And it's been so fun to see it like carry these little strings and twigs to build its nest. And I've just been really enjoying the like simplicity of and the beauty of nature, which, you know, normally in my like normal busy life, I'm not even, you know, noticing any of that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's Shunryu Suzuki would call that the beginner's mind. If we can get to that place where we let go of what we think we know for just those moments so that we can see things freshly. And in seeing those things freshly, it changes our world. It changes the world. Drop your interpretation and the world changes. And that's a piece of work, because we love and are attached to our interpretations. We love them. The thing is the mind, you know, our small minds just don't like change. They want to be anchored to something. And in anchoring to something, we anchor onto a form of thinking. We anchor onto certain thoughts and beliefs and strategies. And we think that those are real, and we can count on those. And so we replace the actual reality of this ever-present moving moment with something that is kind of, that's thought. It's thought-based, it's mental-based. And it's not the real thing. It's only a shadow. It's the menu, it's not the meal. And so when we stop, and we stop time and time again, and in Zen and Zen meditation, they'll say, when the mind wanders, you stop and you begin again, fresh in this moment. So it's really all about the stopping and beginning again, and not beating yourself up for being lost somewhere. It's like, oh, how about thanking yourself for seeing that perhaps you were distracted, and that now it's time to be fresh and to start again and to see what's alive and real before us right now. What keeps us agitated is this sense of urgency. We need to be somewhere. We're missing out on something. Well, we're hunkering down in place. We should clean all of our closets. We should read all of those books. And we should do all of the things that we thought we should be doing. But what if we were to do nothing? What if we were to start using this as the beautiful retreat that it is, opportunity that it is, to perhaps do nothing? And to see what's that like, if nothing else for a period of time every day, is to take the time to start fresh with nothing and to see what arises. Because nature abhors a vacuum. If you were to simply stop, I tell you, your mind will come up with all kinds of things that it might want to do. I know mine does, and it's delightful and it's playful to simply watch how the mind wants to bring me into this state of urgency, that I need something, that I need to actually do something, which for the most part isn't true. Alan Watts talks about this, and he said, by replacing fear of the unknown with curiosity, we open ourselves up to an infinite stream of possibilities. We can let fear rule our lives, or we can become childlike with curiosity. And that it's up to us. Do we want to stay curious? Or do we want to listen to our fear gnomes? And I think we're all suffering from an overactive bunch of fear gnomes running around, which is an old habit. If we really look at the immediacy of now, if you were to look around your room, kind of a thought, everything is probably pretty okay in this moment. Now, the next moment may change. But in the moment, if I've looked in my life, I've always been taken care of. Things have been okay. Life has been good. And if you're listening to this message, then I also can say that you haven't been without your struggles, but life has been good. And there's no evidence that this won't continue. And that's the beauty of it. And any evidence to the contrary is just an interpretation. So I'm going to start to wrap this up by saying, what if we were to give up trying to get somewhere, especially in this time right now? What if we were to stop paddling in the river, trusting that the river will find its way around the rocks and it will carry us with it? That we don't need to paddle and we don't need to struggle. That life finds its way, and we are not separate from life. We are that life that's finding its way, as all of life is finding its way. And it's unfolding randomly, unpredictably, according to its nature. It's according to its nature. And so I think this is probably a good place to stop for now. This will be continued. This is an ongoing conversation. So if you take anything away from this evening, take away playfulness and curiosity and inquiring into what is this moment like? And perhaps, what is it like when thinking stops? And to be curious and gentle with that. And so have playfulness, and with this curiosity, let's take that inward in prayer. As we simply breathe into that silent, centered place of the heart, that place that really knows no anxiety, that knows the silence and the love and the beingness of all of life, that sacred place. And from that sacred place, I call forth a new way of being for everyone, using this opportunity to be curious about this new way of being with life, present to the moment. I call forth a sense of no longer having an urgency in one's life, but simply an acceptance of the way life unfolds, the way life is as this moment. And I bless the changes that are occurring, the changes that will be interpreted in one way and another, but I bless all of the interpretations, for it is all the unicity of life as it moves forward. And lastly, I embrace the solid ground that is this very moment, that is our touchstone, that is always our anchor, this very moment. And I bless all of us as we go forth and we have a wonderful night's rest, as we spread our love among the world, as we make phone calls and stay safe and connect with one another. For this and so much more, I am very, very grateful, and grateful for this community. And with that, we let it be, we bless it, and so it is.
And so it is.
Mm.
Thank you again, Krista, for being with us. Fifth Wednesday will roll around sometime soon, and we'll see you again there. Chantel is next week. I also want to say thank you to Alice, who subbed in at the last minute. And if y'all want to unmute yourselves, we can take a few minutes and say hello before Peggy kicks us out. So,
Hello. Thank you.
Pam,
So much.
hi, Gabriella.
Hi, Paul.
How are you, baby? Good?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm still kicking. I'm praying for my mask to get here, though. I can't.